Flosstube. I'm Tanya the Starlit Stitcher. Welcome to my cross stitch channel. We're having another gloomy day here in Northwest Arkansas. You might be able to hear the rain outside. That's all going to be ice later today, so my little is here at home in the camper with me, so we're going to have another snow day and be doing homework and all that kind of stuff later when I get done with my video. But if you hear any little kid noises in the background or any of that, that's what that is. Yeah. So let's go ahead and get started, and I'll show you what I did during this week. I'm going to apologize for my lighting because it is awful again in here today, but I'm doing the best I can with my lamp setup and all of that, so we'll see how it goes. Okay, firstly, I did finish that block that I started on the Nutcracker Village. There we go on that. I think it's looking really cute. This is an 18 count raw, excuse me, I said that wrong, 18 count opalescent raw linen Aida. It's an Aida, not a linen, but they put linen in the name of the fabric. I know it's kind of confusing, but yeah. I'm stitching this with 2 threads because I didn't feel like one was showing up enough. I'm using DMC white instead of Classic Colorworks snowballs because I didn't have that color already and I wasn't going to buy 7 skeins. So I just went with DMC white. And the back stitch and the stitches that I did for the French knots are done with 2 threads. Just a personal preference for me on this particular piece, so that's what I did. And I don't do French knots because I'm awful at them, so I just made tiny little stitches in there. There's a few of them in there in this pink cake, and then on her little eyeballs. Because my motto for French knots is fake it till you make it, and good enough for me. Now, I do have this next block on order. It's supposed to ship on Friday, so I'm planning to stitch this block not this week, but probably next week after it comes, and try and keep at it. I'm gonna probably not catch up with block 1 until, you know, all of those blocks come out, and then this one, and then I'll catch up with that block there in the middle. That's going to be my strategy. I think we'll see how it goes. Alright, and next up, I did work on unicorn poop for sale, and this is where that's at.
Unicorn poop.
I did a lot of blue this weekend, and that's looking really good, I think. Now, I do have an announcement to make about this because I found out something that I had no idea about. And I felt kind of stupid about it, but at the same time, I don't really know how I was supposed to know about it either. And so I'm going to share that information with everyone here because maybe you know already, but if you don't, now you can say that you already knew and not have to feel dumb like I did. Okay, so I posted on my Instagram that, you know, this color up here in the corner, this just, as soon as I put it in, I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. This doesn't really look right to me. But, you know, let me grab the picture real quick. Where are you at?
Well, I can pick that.
There's my organization skills again, people.
I can get that.
So that's supposed to be up in here, and I was like, I don't know how I feel about that, but sit down, please. You're blocking the light. Okay, that's nice. You sit down, okay? But you see up here in this corner, it's not really like white either, so I was like, well, maybe that's just what they decided to pick to color that. Well, now that I'm way down here in the blue, there's going to be like some more strips of blue and a little bit of purple coming up, but now in the chart I can see, like, you know, these little sparkles and this glow around the gnome on there, and those are definitely supposed to be white, but it's charted in the same color that I had put up in this corner, and I'm like, what in the world is going on here? Good grief. It's like, I mean, you know, I didn't bring my book with me to the store when I went to go and buy my flosses, because that's kind of big. And when I'm buying a whole bunch of flosses, I'm trying to be a bit inconspicuous, shall we say. I mean, not that buying like over 100 skeins at a time is conspicuous anyway, so I don't know what I'm trying to hide when I do that. But, so anyhow, I just had the DMC numbers with me. I didn't have the color names or any of that. Now, in the floss use list, it does say DMC 1 and the color name white. Well, as I said, I posted on my Instagram, I was like, this DMC 1 is not white. It's white tin, and that's not gonna do it, because that's, if I have this color all over in the design, like around the gnome and in the sky and all that, that's gonna be awful, like really, really bad. I was just like, I don't care what I think the chart says. I'm gonna go and switch this out and actually put white in there, because everything else looks good to me. I mean, it's not gonna look exactly like the original art. It pretty much never does. But, you know, when you put it back from a distance, that's what you should be expecting out of your full coverage designs. It looks fine, except for that one color. Well, so my lovely viewer, Chris, he's always got good advice for me. He told me that DMC1 apparently is the white, like, and DMC01 is the white tin. So DMC actually has 2 number 1s on flosses. And so I was thinking, what in the world were they thinking when they did that? How confusing. I was like, that makes a whole lot more sense now, because obviously white was supposed to go in there. And if the number 1 really is, you know, another name for the white color floss, then yeah, that would be where I went wrong. But it was kind of driving me nuts over this too. Like I have some extra white skeins that I haven't opened up yet, you know, the block. So I'm like, does it say anywhere on these skeins that it's number 1? Or, like, I've never seen that on the trays labeled in the store. You know the little bins that they put them in, that they have them on display and you pick them out when you're buying them or whatever. And then even on 1, 2, 3, it's the DMC 1 is labeled as the white tin and not DMC 01 white tin. So I'm like, how is anybody supposed to know this? Like I said, I kind of feel stupid for not knowing, but how is anybody supposed to? I don't know. But I'm going to share that information on, because with as popular of a color as white is, I'm sure other people getting into heaven and earth designs are highly likely to see this as well. I have done another full coverage design called Twilight Moon Pearls, but the white in that was B5200, so I didn't experience that issue. I mean, this issue in that design, because I have never dealt with the color white in a Haid before. Anyhow, lots of rambling on about something that probably should not have been all that complicated, but yeah. I will definitely remember this. If it says DMC 1 and also says white, it means to buy the blanc, people. And so what I'm going to be doing the next time that I work on this is I will be picking out all this in the corner, which kind of sucks, but it is only like 200 stitches, and the whole design has over 260,000. So ultimately that's not that bad. I am okay with picking that out and putting the right color in, and that'll be gravy the whole rest of the way. So there's where we're at on that, and hopefully save some other people some pain by sharing that helpful information that Chris shared with me. Now, he's here on Flosstube, and he also has his Instagram account, which is The Crafty Dad. So I will put his Instagram account below so you can go check him out. He's working on some haids as well. Now, we'll go on to some other stuff here. I worked a little bit on my Halloween Quaker.
Wow.
And here we're at on that this week. So that's what it's all looking like.
You're almost out of it.
I've got a pretty good portion of this done. Let's see if I can hold this while pointing at it for you. So since you saw this last week, I put in the purple with the cats, this crow, the flower, this here, and this candlestick. I don't feel like I did as much as I did last week, but that's still a pretty large chunk. My lighting is being so weird. Now on this one, it's a 32 count Sprite Lugana by Picture This Plus, and I'm stitching it with one thread. And as you can see, I did backstitch the moon with the Classic Colorworks honeycomb because the white color here didn't show up as much on my fabric as I was hoping that it would. I mean, the fabric is more colorful than what it's showing up in my video and on my Instagram and all of that, but it still doesn't have enough pop with the white color there. So we're going to help it out a little bit, and that'll be fine. Okay, and then lastly, I put a little bit of work in on the American deer.
Wow.
I finished up the ear and did a little bit more in here. So not as much as I had did on this last week, but it's moving along, and this is what I pick up when I can't see on anything else and when I feel like stitching still. And so over time, this will eventually get done this year. And there we are on that.
It's for my dad.
Now that's an 11 count pre-stamped kit. So it came with the Ada, and it's got that ink on that, and it came with the threads and everything. And when it's done, all of those neon colors and stuff, all of that will wash out, so you won't even be able to tell it was ever there. Okay, so let's talk about my goals for the year and check in on how I'm doing on that. Okay, so here's my list of stuff that I would like to try and do this year. Now, my goal here is I want to get done as much of this as I can that is on this list. Now, American Deer, that's up at the top because that's left over from 2021. I had hardly gotten that started last year because I had put it down for quite a while working on cross-stitch gifts and things like that in preparation for Christmas, and then I picked it back up again and doing what I do now. And so these are the things that I want to try and do. And it's like, okay, I've crossed off hardly anything. But they're not small like ornaments either. A lot of these they're either really big or they can be considered at least medium size. So I'm trying to not scare myself too much. And then so these ones with the dots, these are all things that I have in progress and are active right now. Flea market baskets is on the list. I'm going to try and start that this week, so that will have a thing too. Now these two, the Nutcracker Village and Flea Market Baskets, those are Sal's. So obviously those, I don't have any plans to have them finished until the end of the year when, the last assignments are made available. And the unicorn poop for sale, that's the full coverage I don't have, how would you call it? It's not my goal to finish that entire thing. Plus stitch all this. I mean, wouldn't that be freaking awesome if I actually could do that? That'd be like God status right there or something. But no, my goal for that is to have 20% of it done for this year, because I want to try and do as much of this other stuff. Excuse me. I mean, like I've said, I have done that other full coverage design, and I was able to complete that all in last year. However, I didn't finish very many other things because I spent 8 months on the one project. And so my goal is to go 20% on the unicorn poop for sale. And, you know,
Unicorn poop.
that is my goal for that. Now, as far as we're doing on other projects, so let's see, Gather Here, I did finish that already. And that finished faster than what I expected it to. I expected for me to take about 2 weeks to stitch that, but it only took me 6 stitching days to do that. And Halloween Quaker is similarly stitching up faster than what I had expected. I forgot to look at how many stitching days that I've put into it so far, but I do know that it's going to be about a week faster than what I had thought. I think I had thought I was going to put 3 weeks of stitching days into it, and it's not going to be that. Now, Long May She Wave is going to take me a couple days longer. I gave myself a week, but I think it's going to take me more like 9 days, maybe 10. And I've still got like maybe 4 days, possibly 5 of stitching left to do on it, because I've still got to do the truck, and it's pretty dense with the stitching. But overall, I think that, so I'm doing pretty good with the things these things that are active, except for, you know, the Curious Mermaid. It's kind of lagging behind, but it does only have like 3 days of stitching on it, so it kind of just is what it is. And I also, because like this was also the first year that I've kind of like, okay, pick the things that I want to do in the year and try and do as much as I can off of it, or make some kind of a plan. Because normally I just stitch on one thing, I stitch it, and then I just pick something else, pick that up and do it. Well, I'm trying different things this year, and now that I've done the whole multiple projects going at a time thing for this last month, this is how that's going. I'm feeling okay about how my projects are going when I sit down and I look at the amount of stitching days that I've put into it, because I think like, man, I've been picking this up for what feels like forever, and I should have had this done like last month sometime.
Mom, disappear.
But at the same time, then I go and look at, oh, I only stitched on that for 4 days or 5 days, and then I look at how much is done on it. I'm like, oh, okay, well, you know, that's not too bad. It's confusing my brain. It's making me squirrely. And then of course, like, you know, I got myself sucked into these sows too, and then part of it too is like, while I have them active, I feel like I have to touch them every week, and that's not necessarily the case. I mean, you know, you can stitch what you want, whenever you want, and however you do it is fine. But my brain wants me to pick up and touch everything. I don't know. So my goal for February is to try and get my number of active whips down so that I can manage getting these sows done a bit easier while accomplishing these other goals. Now, I forgot to mention that these dark blues up here, these are the things that I absolutely want to do, and then these things in the teal color, those are the bonus stitches that were not on the list, but I put them on there anyways, because this is the year of seeing how much we can be squirrely, I guess. So, yeah, February goals. I plan to finish Long May She Wave, Halloween Quaker, and the Curious Mermaid. That'll be tick, 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 and that'll be 3 off the list. And then whatever time I have left for February, I will be putting into the next project. I already know what it is. I'm gonna not tell you guys until I've already started it, but I will say that it's one of the 3 behemoths that I have on this list. So the three that I consider the behemoths are Pandemic. Where is that on this list? There we go. Pandemic by Long Dog Samplers. Consider the Lilies by Heartstring Samplery. And Seedy Pumpkin Cottage by Praiseworthy Stitches. Those are my 3 largest projects this year on the list. And so I need to clear up the 3 that I've started and get started on one of these biggies. And once I have one of the biggies done, I'll feel a lot better about how this list is going than how it looks now. And then we'll check back in for February and see how my goals are looking then. This list is not undoable for me. I just need to revise my strategy a little bit and yeah, because my brain is just going a little bit wonky with having, you know, maybe I went too much at a time, going from one project at a time to, how many is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so.
Mom, can you show this to me then?
Honey, they don't want to see that. That's your school stuff. Good grief. So yeah, I don't know, people. I don't think that it's undoable. There's still several things on here that will go really quick. It's just the behemoths that kind of scare me. So that's going to be my goal, to clear out what I've started on my how would you call it? The ones that are not the long term, like American Deer's long term, Unicorn Poop's long term, and the Sows are of course long term. But anything that's not long term, I want to go tick, 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 and move on to the next, and hopefully start showing a bit faster process, and that will be a lot less confusing on my brain to manage both that and the ongoing ones. And I think we will do better with that strategy, at least for me. And so, as I said, I plan to start the flea market baskets this week. I got my pattern and I got my cloth. So something went right in all this craziness going. And I also prepped my threads, people. So,
I said the fence, Mom.
So yeah, I had a day this week where I wasn't feeling all that great. So I didn't feel like I could pick up my stitching, but I did feel okay enough to do stuff like this. And so that's what I did. I stayed productive in whatever ways that I could, and now I'm ready to tackle next week a lot better. But that is how it's going. I still feel pretty good about my goals for this year, and so I'm going to continue working on towards those and knock out as much that I can and get these sows caught up. And yeah. Okay, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you back here next week. Take care. Stay warm. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Bye.